Am I the asshole? For waking my boyfriend up at night and asking him to take me home? Me and my boyfriend have been together for about 6 months, and I used to stay at his place all the time. We were basically living together. However, last week we had a terrible argument, and I decided to pack all my things and go back home. When we made up, we agreed that we would let each other know when we're ready to go back to how things were before. Last night I went over to his place for dinner and stayed for a while, and this was the first time I returned since we resolved the issue. When he picked me up, he asked if I wanted to spend the night or go back home, and I told him I wasn't sure and would decide later. After dinner we got into bed to cuddle a little, but around 10 p.m. we fell asleep. I woke up around midnight feeling uneasy about staying there. I mulled it over but, for some reason, felt uncomfortable staying and had the urge to go back home, so much that I couldn't fall back asleep. Finally, around 12:30 a.m. I woke him up and asked if he could take me home. It's a 20-minute drive. At first, he asked if I could stay and that he'd take me home first thing in the morning. I explained that I couldn't sleep much but laid back down anyway. He got a bit annoyed, went to the kitchen, and when he returned he told me I should have told him earlier. I explained that I accidentally fell asleep and that I was feeling weird staying there. At that moment, he told me to try to sleep since it was late and he didn't want to go out at that hour, and he laid back down. I thought he was probably right to complain. I only remembered at that moment that he had been awake since 5 a.m. and was surely very tired, and I didn't insist. I got up to drink some water and then went back to bed. After a few minutes, he got up upset and told me to get dressed. I tried to convince him to come back to bed and that I'd stay, but he got even more upset, raised his voice slightly, and said I was being disrespectful to ask that at that hour. He drove me home, but he didn't say a word the entire way and didn't even kiss me goodbye. I know I wasn't very kind to ask him something like that last minute, which is why I believe I could be TA, but at the same time I didn't feel like ignoring my feelings. I also felt a bit hurt because he didn't try to reassure me, nor did he ever bother to ask me what was wrong. Edit. The fight: he yelled at me, called me names and sent me home alone at 9 p.m. My fault insisting on continuing a conversation when he wasn't interested. We both agreed on this version. We agreed I wouldn't sleep there anymore unless we decided otherwise. No Uber here, taxi not common, don't own a car. In a rush I also forgot my wallet, had no money with me. I woke up early too, around 6 a.m. both tired and cuddles were relaxing, so yeah, we both accidentally fell asleep. My discomfort: first time there since the fight, it brought back the memories. He knows his behavior scared me, that's why I hoped he would take my discomfort more seriously. You're the asshole. There are so many examples of your selfishness in this post. You didn't consider him at all. Didn't consider his lack of sleep, how dangerous tired driving could be. Didn't consider any other options such as staying on a couch or getting an Uber. Didn't consider that when you treat him rudely, he shouldn't have to bend over backwards to reassure you or kiss you. It kinda feels like you're still in teenage mode and you expect to be catered to without thinking it through. That's not fair in an equal relationship. The comment about him not asking you what was wrong is what swings it to a solid "you're the asshole" for me. You didn't wake him up to take you home, you woke him up to make a point that you were still angry about whatever this prior argument was. Whether you're TA or not, I'm pretty sure you're his ex now. 20 minutes one way is a 40-minute drive total, and it's really disrespectful to wake someone up at such an hour and ask them to drive that much for you when it's not an emergency. You should have either taken your own car, or called for an Uber. You're the asshole. He didn't try to reassure me, nor did he ever bother to ask me what was wrong. You woke him up in the middle of the night and you expect a therapy session? Geez. I get that you shouldn't have to stay at a place where you're uncomfortable, but you caused this annoying problem. First, by falling asleep there, and second, by failing to call a cab instead of waking him up. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. You can't decide in the middle of the night you want to leave, then expect a kiss goodbye. Surely you could have headed to the lounge and watched TV until a decent hour. You're the asshole. I would give you all the reasons, but you seem to be getting enough in the comments. Take them into account and stop being this way. I would have been pissed too if I were him. He probably got up and did it so you couldn't use him not driving you home against you in your next argument. You're the asshole. Waking someone up to bring you home is indeed not a cool thing to do, and I would have reacted harshly to that. If you want to go home, leave a note and go home, alright. But don't wake someone up to drive you home. Personally, if I fall asleep at 10 p.m. and then get woken up at 12:30 for a 40-minute drive, there's no way I'm falling back asleep. I would be up for hours after that. You should have decided if you were staying or not before 10 p.m., or called an Uber if you didn't want to stay there in the middle of the night. You're the asshole doubly so if he had work the next morning. You're the asshole. You are very annoying. You're the asshole. At that moment you either stay or you find another way to go home, taxi, Uber, etc. You don't wake someone who's been asleep for 2 hours up just to take you home. Of course you're the asshole. You made him drive the better part of any hour in the middle of the night. Why would you think you're not TA? I also felt a bit hurt because he didn't try to reassure me, nor did he ever bother to ask me what was wrong. Well, why didn't you do that? You can clearly see he was distressed and worked up after being woken up in the middle of the night. You can see he was very upset. Why weren't you trying to reassure him about his feelings? These were your choices, but you're not taking ownership or responsibility for them or for what you want. If you want to go home, that's fine. Leave a note and make your own way back instead of waking him. There's a lot of you demanding things from him and no reciprocation. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. Time to grow up. Yeah, no sorry, but you're the asshole. As people are saying, Uber taxi. If you needed to leave so badly, you were also comfortable enough to fall asleep in the first place, so where did the sudden discomfort come from? You're the asshole and most probably the ex by now. What were you trying to accomplish? If you were uncomfortable, just take an Uber. You're the asshole. By waiting until he went to bed and fell asleep before making a decision. You should have called an Uber. If I was forced to do this for you at this hour, I wouldn't pick you up again. You're the asshole. You can't wake up people when you can just take an Uber. Next time decide right then and there if you will stay or go. You're the asshole. If he's smart you won't be seeing him again anyway. You're the asshole. That's honestly insane, the fact you have stayed there heaps beforehand, and literally fell asleep there once again. Surely you could just stay at that point. I would have been pissed. You're the asshole. It honestly sounds like you were just trying to cause drama or punish him for the apparently still unresolved argument you had. Dude. This is not a healthy relationship. You both agreed that was what happened in the argument? This entire thing is red flags. If you don't feel comfortable to stay over with him, why are you still with him? Seems you already know the answer. Time to move on. AITA. The guy I'm seeing is more than happy for me to spend the night whenever I want, however I like my bed space and choose not to. If we ever fall asleep I wake up ready to go home. I write him a note saying I had a nice evening, talk tomorrow, and then cab it home. Also about 20 minutes away from my place. It's not that deep. You're the asshole. Of course he's mad. You woke him up in the middle of the night instead of being an adult and either waiting until the morning or calling yourself an Uber. You were the one being disrespectful, not him. Sometimes I wonder, do people read their own stories before posting? How can any sane human read this and think they are not the asshole? Stay single. You are not mature enough for a relationship. You're the asshole. Info: you guys got taxis where you are? Was there a couch? Is there a reason you're not including here for your changing discomfort?